Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andy. Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. So for today's sessions, I'll try to focus mainly on the theoretical part of the marketing. And so today's seminar will be further divided into three parts. So first part, we talk about the theory of marketing first, and then we also talk about the promotional tools, which is one of the 4 Ps under the marketing mix. Okay, and then we also will be looking at the internet marketing or the so-called click models. Okay, and lastly, I also introduce what are the assignment required for this seminar. Okay, so let's move on to our seminars today. Hang on, yeah. So today's topic will be entrepreneurial marketing, focusing on the pharmaceutical as a pharmacist and other healthcare professionals. So why it's so important to understand the marketing of pharmaceuticals? Let's look at the pharmaceutical industry at the first place. It's not a surprising fact that this is the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most profitable industries, and because the industry player or the manufacturer or the pharma company, they strongly feel that these profits are justifiable because of these 3 reasons. First one is there is a high investment for R&D, research and development, for new drugs to be marketed before it could be used by the patients, and the tremendous value of medications. This one I'm going to explain what is the value of my medicines in my following slides. Okay, and the high risk of industry in terms of attrition rate, meaning to say that out of the, let's say, out of those drug molecules, there is potential to be lead compounds. Finally, there is only one successfully marketed after going through some of the preclinical trial and then clinical trial. This one I going to explain what is this high attrition rate of pharma. Okay. So a ballpark figure is around 800 million to bring successfully a drug to the market to be a prescribed medications. So this is 2022, this year's data, which lists down the top 10 pharma companies in terms of sales, prescriptions items or prescribed medication sales for 2021. Okay, so as you can see, listed in number 1 is Pfizer, which is a US based company, and then if you can see from here, the top 3 drugs. First one is the Comirnaty, which is the Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, and then they also have their pneumococcal vaccines for children, the Prevnar 13th listed, and also Ibrance. And so you can see that all other companies also trade not far behind in terms of the prescription sales. You have AbbVie at 55. This one is in million USD millions. Okay, this is 72 millions, and out of the sales, okay, the company reported invested around 13 billion in the R&D. Okay, but some of the critics argue that this figure might be overinflated. I'll explain why does it mean so. Okay, so as you can see, almost 20% was spent on the R&D for Pfizer, and 10 to 20%. And this is what they say, that high investment cost in terms of R&D. So the those critics of for pharma company, they listed all these 4 points, saying that why the pharma company is profiteering too much based on the drug sales. Okay, as you can see, the profit are excessive, which very lucrative for the investor, and especially those stock holder for their share. Okay, and the R&D cost figures, according to the critics, are quite inflated, overinflated, meaning to say that the value declared by the company does not reflect the real sum of amount invested by the company, because the company also get tax reductions. So, and then the R&D costs include the samples of the drug. This sample of drug I'm going to explain later. This is one of the promotional tools for pharmaceutical marketing. Okay, the industrial figures, not those figures plugged by the or declared by the company, sometimes are not verified. So there is no independent body or audit done to verify those R&D figures. Okay, and the third point raised by the critics, government funds have contributed some of the critical research on new drugs, just like, for example, the COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, the US governments also have invested quite a lot to expedite the R&D process and approval process of the COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, and also some of the medications, including those biologics or monoclonal antibodies, are not affordable to the patients because of this high price. As you know, some of the monoclonal antibodies can cost a few $100,000 per year for the patients, and without subsidies, it is not possible for patients to afford it. Okay, this is the overall view. I guess most of you are quite well versed of this flowchart. The drug development process start from the clinical testings to the clinical trial. We have the phase 1, which looking at the safety and the dosage form, including the pharmacokinetics. Phase 2, looking at the efficacies and side effect of the drugs, the tested drug, and the phase 3 as well, monitoring the adverse drug ADR and the long-term use. Okay, before it can finally get approval from the regulatory agency. And after that, there is in fact something called the phase 4 clinical trial, which is the post-marketing testing, which is when the drug is already in the market. So if you look at the timeline, it can between 10 to 16 years to get a new drug. Obviously, for the COVID-19 is a record making because in less than 1 year, 2 years, the drug vaccine was successfully conditionally approved due to the emergency nature of the disease. Okay. Just now, I also mentioned about the high attrition rate in the drug R&D process. This is what it means. right from the preclinical up to the regulatory approvals. You have a lot of research effort have to put in, like for example, during the high throughput screening, you have a lot of molecules before they can find the lead compounds and then identify the hit to lead, and then during the phase 1, as according to the drug development process, okay, eventually drug have been approved. But even when the drug is being approved, sometimes during the post-marketing monitoring, if there is a high ADR reported in terms of safety issues, the drug might be recalled. So as you can see, some of the medications, like for example, the Vioxx, okay. So the high value add medications, as we can see from this aspect, okay, the value add medicines is important because it eliminate the need for more costly treatment, like for example, surgery, okay. Also, the medicine can be used to speed up the health treatments, okay. Then there's free up other hospital costs, okay. It also helped to reduce the hospitalizations period, okay. Overall, also it improves the quality of life of patients. For example, those having arthritis after taking the analgesic or painkiller, they feel better, less pain, and then they can walk better. Okay, and the medicines also is play a role to reduce the cost of ill health. Okay, and overall it can help to cut down some of the public expenditures for medical treatments. So as you can see, for most of the countries, large percentage of the budget given for healthcare goes to the procurement of medications. Also, you can see that this is one of the most popular form of medical treatments, the medications. As you can see, around 40% to 70% of world populations is taking medications, okay, to treat or prevent ill health or to improve their overall well-being, okay. More than 30% of the older people take 4 and more different medications on the regular basis. This is also what we call the polypharmacy, okay. 5 or more, okay. So many long-term illnesses are tackled by means of prescribed. So for those chronic illnesses, for example, diabetic, hypertension, asthma, the medication still the mainstream treatments, okay, to control the disease. Let's take a look also on the global medicines market. Okay, start from year 2011 until the projected value of 2026. As you can see, this is one of the most profitable industry because of the large amount or at a large market size. Okay, start from, for example, from a year 2011 around. Let me remove this one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Alam, your speaker is off.
I'm sorry, Mr. Long. It seems you unmute. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me Is it still muted? Let me show the taskbar.
No, it's good now.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so now as is even approaching 1.8 trillion, the global medicine market. So it's a huge markets to be going in. Therefore, a lot more new companies setting up to venture into prescribed medications market. Okay. So who are the main players of the pharmaceutical industry in terms of the marketing purpose? Okay. Obviously, then is the pharma industry or pharma manufacturer itself. Okay. So they are the main driver. Those high profits are the main driver for industry profitabilities. And also, let me say it again, sorry. The pharmaceutical industry marketing is important tools because it's the main driver for the industry to drive up the profit. Okay. And the marketing or pharmaceutical marketing also considered to be highly effective. I'll show some examples why it's highly effective, because it can help to increase the sales, okay, as significantly. So apart from targeting on the prescriber, on the clinicians, the marketing strategy also have directions to influence the patients to discuss with the prescriber so that the prescriber will prescribe those medication to them. This one we will talk about the direct to consumer advertising. Let's look at the different definitions of marketing. As I mentioned, marketing, if those studying MBA or management courses, okay, it is one of the main modules. It is also further divided into different specializations of marketing. Okay. So according to the scientists, this one is from the Harvard Business School, Theodore Levin. Okay. He defined the term marketing as the object of selling is to make, or the main purpose of selling is to make the customer want what the company has. Okay. And the objective of marketing is to make sure the company have what the customer want. Okay, so this is a two-way process according to Levin. Okay, another scientist, okay, marketing guru Peter Drucker, then mentions that marketing is looking at the business through the customer eyes. Okay, say that what really the customer want. Okay. So according to Institute of Marketing, marketing is the identification and satisfaction of customer needs, but with a profit. Obviously, this is not profitable or NGO, so it's all profit driven. That's why it is almost all of those company, main pharma, they are listed company with their shareholders as their main stockholders. Okay. Let's go into the objective of pharmaceutical marketing. Why a pharma company venturing into or spending so much money on the pharmaceutical marketing? Okay, three main objectives are listed here. First, to enlarge the market by having more new products or product development. Okay, so for example, we have the now COVID-19 vaccines. Part of that, then they advocate the use of flu vaccines, okay, on the yearly basis. So obviously, we have seen now people keep on having new booster dose to boost up or to increase our immunity. Okay. And there is the aim of the pharmaceutical marketing to increase the market share, okay, by increasing the product development for competitive advantage or by offering customer service activities. So this one is quite obvious if we look at the paracetamol tablet or paracetamol as an analgesic market segment. We know that the market leader is the GSK Panadol. Okay, how Panadol keep reinventing itself by still continuing advertising from time to times, and then they also come up with the new variants of a Panadol, like for example Actifast or Panadol Flu, cold and flu, okay, to capture a new market or to increase their market share. And as we know, the pharma company, one of the main objectives is to maintain or increase their profit. Okay, so one of the tools used is through pharma marketing. Okay, how they can increase the profit by increasing obviously the sales volume for profit leverage. Okay, and then by having more sales, so overall the cost of productions can be reduced. Yeah. Now let's take a few minutes to discuss the marketing mix. We have looked at the different definitions of marketing, but what is the 4 P's of the marketing, which always mentions in the textbook, marketing textbook. Okay. Obviously, this is not the real one. Okay, the 4P of marketing mix, which includes product, price, promotions, and place. We're going to discuss this one by one, and then we will also focus what are the 4 main promotional tools used for pharmaceutical marketing. Okay, the first P, product, that's easy. Okay, does the company have the right product now? Okay, what the right product going to be in the futures? So for example, now most company also venturing into cancer treatments. So there's a lot of new biologics or immunotherapies was being introduced in the market, okay, which is driving the innovation product. Okay, second is the price. Okay, the pricing, there's different pricing strategy also, okay, for different market sections and different country. For example, pharmaceutical pricing is also one of the key area in the pharmaceutical research. Okay, is the selling price right? Okay, how when there are competitors, the different marketing pricing strategy have to be used to maintain the competitive advantage. C, the third P of the marketing mix is promotions, which look at what methods will the marketer use or pharma company use to ensure all potential customers are aware of your product, okay, and then want to purchase it. So this one is one of the important aspect to drive to increase the sales volume, okay, or to increase the market share of the product. The last one is P, place. Okay, so this one also later we will discuss the traditional distribution models and also the click models or the online virtual internet sales. Okay, so what market are you going to spotlight? How the product will get to the customer base that you are targeting for. So meaning to say that the product reach the desired or the customer who desired for those items. here's listed the example of all those 4 marketing mix. Let's take a quick look some of the examples. Okay, if you look specifically at the price, the listed price, what are the discounts, allowance, especially those you are working on the purchasing or store management of the procurement. Price, you always come for what will be the discount, okay, credit terms, okay, product, what kind of the quality of the product, design. Okay, so this is also we look into different strategy played by the drug companies. For example, after, especially the drug after off patent, they want to, how they want to maintain their market share. Okay, promotion, this one we're going to discuss in details. What are the 4 main strategies used by the pharma companies? Okay, place in terms of the logistic considerations, logistic strategy in terms of the distributions. Okay, this one also cover part of the good distributions practice, including the location, inventory, cold chain, okay, especially those vaccines. Okay, so we also learned that for a franchise pharmacy, now in Indonesia, Boots also opens is a franchise in the Indonesia last year. If you are visiting Thailand, the Boots also have a significant presence in the country apart from in the UK. You also have the local own franchise, Apotek K24, okay, which is has been quite a good influence to the pharmacy business in Indonesia. Now, after we learn the 4 marketing mix, let's now look at the promotional tools. Okay, which type of promotional tools use or that we're going to further discuss today. We're going to examine closely the use of samples, give drug samples to the clients or to the patients as part of the marketing strategy. Okay, we also look into detailing, which is the using the medical rep or sales rep representative to influence the prescribing trend of the clinicians, doctors, and pharmacists. We also look at the development of direct to consumers advertising, which is till now not very common in the Southeast Asia. Mainly we see the direct to consumer advertising in US, New Zealand, and Australia. Okay, professional advertising, this is advertising targeting specifically on the among the healthcare professionals, so that they will have more awareness on the new product and increase the chance of prescribing those medications. So this is quite an old statistic, the 2005, but it just give you a glimpse of those how is the quantum in terms of the expenditure in billion. As you can see, samples are most widely in terms of contributing to the expenditure is the largest, followed by detailing and direct to consumers advertising, and then lastly the professional advertising. Okay, let's take a quick look on the value chain in the pharmaceutical sectors, which help us to see at which part of this drug distribution process those marketing strategy can be used. Okay, as you can see here is the productions and distributions involved three main channels: the lab or the laboratories, R&D, manufacturing. Once the product is fully manufactured as a pharmaceutical product, then you have to go through the distribution channel, okay, and then into the sales channel, which will then reach to the patients, okay. This one we will further discuss in the next slides, okay. And when you look at the financing, meaning to say that a payment and also funding for the purchase and also for the procurement, okay. You have the pharma industry, a different type of funds, insurance for the patients, medical, healthcare benefits, depends on the country. Like for example, Australia use the PBS system, okay. And then lastly, you have the regulations. This one we discussed in the previous discussions on the regulations and also product registrations, okay. So if you can see the channel of from the medicines, in terms of medicine supply, from the factory to the distributors to the pharmacy or hospitals, which before it finally reach the patients, okay. And the informations, this one is we are talking about the either through detailing or advertisings, reach out in order to reach out to the industry and also to the doctors as well, including to the pharmacy, okay. This is more on the advertising channels, okay. And in terms of the transfer of funds for the transactions of the medication, as we know, this is a high volume commodities. Suppose specifically examine the medicine supply chain. Let's take a closer look at the medicine supply chain, which I know you are very well aware, okay, from the productions. Once it get the approval from the regulations agency is what we see from the product registration previously, okay. And you go through the different channels, including the R&D manufacturers, okay. Then go through the distribution and wholesaler before it's reach those hospital wards, community pharmacy, or dispensing doctors, which then dispense or prescribe the medications to the patients. Okay. I would like to highlight one example of how much money invested on the pharmaceutical marketing by looking at one recent studies, which they survey the pharmaceutical marketing expenditures in Washington DC, which is the also called District of Columbia, which is where White House was located. So as you can see here, this district accommodate up to or have up to 700,000 population. It's quite small compared with the population in Indonesia, but you can't you can see here how much total pharmaceutical marketing expenditures have been spent each year. So here listed from year 2006 to 2020. If you see the trend, there is a declining trend in terms of overall expenditures. Okay, it's from in totals it's up to 160 million USD to the recent one almost 80 million. Okay, this is also due to the regulations and also heavy regulated in terms of how much marketing can be used, and also the reductions in the conventional medications used, for example, chronic diseases. See lately there is less antibiotic less antibiotic was successfully approved in the market. Okay. And as you can see here, same to the previous one. Okay. We have, for example, here, detailing also is one of the most spent area of promotional. Okay, and then followed by giving gifts, okay, or presents, including the pay tour or overseas trip or CME trip for doctors or healthcare professional to attend conference. And then at the third level here, first one is detailing, advertise, gift, and then the advertising, which include the direct to consumer advertising and the professional advertising. Okay. So let's look at the first one on the detailing. How much money, why so much money spent on the detailing or hiring or commissioning medical representative to convince or to convey or to educate indirectly the prescriber so that they will prescribe more of their marketed product. Okay. First of all, let's look at what are the outlook or the characteristic of the representative. What kind of their behavior that match well of the good medical rep. Okay, obviously there must first of all the outer appearance must look good and positive, and then to reflect on their professionalism, because this is very in most country, this is considered as one of highly trained. I'll show you the video how develop this professional. Okay, and also they need to be very talkative, outgoing, extrovert. Once they see the prescriber, then they will keep on mentioning the advantage of the latest information about their product. Okay, excellent interpersonal skills also that can help them to break the barrier at the first encounter with a new person. Okay, assertive, so they are very confident in terms of giving solid informations or answering what are the questions raised by the doctor. How they can achieve that? Because as I say, they are well trained by the drug companies. They undergo different training before they are sent to see their prescriber. Okay, these are the trait or some of the characteristic that being developed in order for them to achieve their goal. Okay, so they have to be observant. They have to assess the clinician's personalities to see what kind of strategy you have to use. Okay, I'm going to discuss further this one in the following slide. Okay, they must know how to adjust their approach based on the reactions of the doctors and what kind of doctors. Is it junior doctors, senior doctors, or consultants? Okay, how they can gather and use personal information to establish connections. A lot of time they will spend time talking to their the secretary of the person serving at the counter, the front counter personnel, to get further information about their doctors. Like for example, how many kids the doctor have, and then so that they can know how to be individualize their sales tactic later. Okay, and then they also will continue monitors. For example, after the first visit, then they will monitor how much sales increase, or if the doctor this prescribing of their product have increased over time from their first or second and third visit. If not, then they will start to remind the doctors. They are very consistent and very pushy in some certain way. Okay, mainly also driven by the high commissions of they also have their targets, sales target to be met. Okay. Okay, now let's look at also the different strategy or approach used by the sales representative as one of the marketing promotional tools for pharmaceutical marketing. Okay, and first of all, we will look at either the clinicians are friendly or skeptical, then you use different tactics, or those high prescribers, if it's already prescribing a lot, then they will use more like gifts or different incentives to boost up further their sales. Okay, and they will see their interactions as how is the non-verbal gesture of the doctors to see how close their rapport is. Okay, and often they will use the published data or the clinical trial report, different using different papers. As you know, some of those major drugs have been published in Nature's or New England or Journal of Medicine, which then they use to appeal to the high intellectuals, here referring to those prescribers. Okay, and they're also trying to give their best effort to establish the personal connections. They also will bring lunch, meals or they give vouchers to the doctors, or they spend times having lunch or dinner with them. Okay, and by spending time, then they're trying to capture what is the current niche or what are the necessary informations to the doctors want, so that they wants to close the gap so that the doctor will start prescribing more. Okay, and there, as I mentioned, they will also build rapport with the office staff, including the nurse, okay, or the secretary, so that they get useful informations, not just from the sales of the medications, personal information of the prescriber, so that they can tailor make their gift. And for those prescriber that like to be speakers, then they will invite them to be speakers for the conference, or they will organize continuous medical educations to be, so that those prescriber can give information or to keep convince their colleagues, which is their other doctors, to also be like them, prescribe more of their medications. So this detailing is very effective way to promote the sales of the medication, as you can see. And this one also, that's why the drug company, they happily invest money to train more sales representatives, to send more sales representatives. So if you see in YouTube, okay, there are a lot of video showing how the medical rep approach the doctors, and there is a lot of sales strategy also shown. For the sake of exposure, here I just quickly show some part of the videos. This video, so this is a very successful medical rep with according to him 25 years of a successful career as a sales rep, and then he listed some of the information on how to the steps for pharmaceutical sales call when they make a phone call to doctors. Let's see what is the question. Let me quickly show you the video.
this. Hey doc, the reason I'm here today is I want to discuss with you how you can use product X to help patient Y with condition Z. Is this something you're interested in? So let's break down that discussion right there. Now obviously this is kind of a watered down version. We're not talking about an actual product here. I mean, because there are certain compliance regulations we've got to stay with. We're talking in generic terms right here. But let's focus on what we can talk about, and that is, this is an example of an opening that I use all the time. The reason I use it is because it provides a clear goal. We want to talk about product X for certain patients, not the actual patient names, but just in general, these patients that have this condition Z, for example. And that's the roadmap for the call. So I know what the call is about, and the doctor knows what the call is about. And just kind of as a little bit of a pro tip, I'm going to give you like these real world examples throughout the video. I like to set this up before the call even occurs. So maybe I talked about this as the end of my last call, during the follow-up stage of my last call, or maybe it was over email. If your company allows you to send emails, maybe prior to this call you send an email, hey doc, can we talk about this when I meet with you on Tuesday or something like that. And then when you get in, you can say, hey, remember, we talked about this on the last call. I'm kind of bringing that process forward. Or if remember, hey, we talked over email, we were going to talk about this patient type. So that's kind of like a little bit of a tip right there. And the other piece I want to talk about that's very important, and that is the "Are you interested?" portion at the end. That's kind of I don't want to say it's a controversial thing, but I know a lot of people shy away from asking a question like this, specifically asking, are you interested in this topic? And I believe that's critical to ask this question. So you might say, well, Mike, what if they say no, they're not interested? Well, I need to know that. And you as a sales representative need to know that too. Because if you engage in a discussion where the doctor is actually not interested in your discussion, you're going to waste your time and their time, and you're going to think they're ready to buy from you, when in reality they have a lot of objections that you have not uncovered yet. So by asking the "Are you interested?" question, it does a couple things. One, if they're not interested, then you can find out what the problem is so that you can tackle that objection first, because you're not ready to go to the buying stage yet, right? But if they are interested, it provides a form of a trial close, right? They said they're interested in this. If you can provide evidence that backs up the recommendation that you're going to make, then by the time you get to the actual close later, they've already said yes. So it's a beautiful thing. Make sure that you don't skip the "Are you interested?" portion of the question. Got it? All right, step 2, the proof, right? So this is the evidence stage. I'm talking about a patient that has this condition Z. Obviously, I'm going to make a recommendation that they use product X, but I've got to back that up with evidence, right? Because I'm not a doctor. Me just going in there and telling them to use the product without any evidence is not going to do anything. So I might say something like this. So again, this is a generic way to say it. So, hey, did you see that article by Bob Evans in the March issue of the New England Journal of Medicine? Dr. Evans, he conducted a trial with patients that had condition Z, and he found that patients who used product X were able to reduce condition Z by 35%. What's your opinion of that research? So again, watered down version, right? But it's kind of an example of how you could have a discussion starter. And the proof source could be a clinical that you use, like a white paper. It could be a visual aid. It could be your mobile device, whatever the case may be, right? You're going to have something that's going to provide evidence to back up the recommendation that you're going to make in your close stage. Now, I want to touch on this thing called be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. When I was early in my career, I read a book that was something titled similar to this. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like this here. But the concept is this. In pharmaceutical and medical device sales, often we're meeting with providers, whether that's doctors, nurse practitioners, respiratory therapists, nurses, whatever the case may be. These people are busy treating patients. If they've got time to meet with you, they don't have a lot of time, right? So you got to maximize that time that you have. You've got to be brief with them, but you got to be brilliant, and then you got to be gone, right? So use the time that you have to get that job done. And so why I bring it up here with the proof stage is because what I found over the year, and myself included, when you're early on in your career, the proof stage is the hardest piece to be confident with. You got a lot of things in your job that you're responsible for. And knowing the clinical evidence when you don't have a medical background, it can be very difficult. So some people shy away from the proof stage. I'm telling you, don't do that. Because if you do that, and I've been there, right? If you try to, not know as much as you should know, you're not going to be confident when you present that proof, and you're going to know it, and the doctor's going to know it, and the recommendation that you make is not going to be believable. So spend the time getting to know the proof source that you're using. You know, I don't have a medical background, I have a financial background, so it took me a while to learn the medical side of things when I got into this industry in the middle 2000s, right? I spent a lot of time and effort to learn the medical side of the business, and I became, I like to think, a product knowledge expert, and I think it's reasonable for everybody to have that goal, even if you don't have a medical background. I have since given many presentations where when I'm done with the presentation, people will ask, wow, what is your medical background? And I don't bring that up to toot my own horn, only just to show you that it is possible to be a subject matter expert in your product. And what I say to that when people ask me that is I kind of just laugh it off, right? Hey, you know, I might be an expert in one thing, but you're the expert in many things. And I'm only here to support you with the little piece that I know of the pie that can help you in your decision making. You know, nobody expects you to be an expert in everything, right? I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor, right? But I can be an expert in the proof sources that I bring, and I can be an expert in my product, and that's how I can provide value to the customers that I serve, right? So in terms of the proof source that you're choosing, we got to make sure that it's clearly related to the purpose of the visit. So I said in that purpose, hey, I'm coming in to talk about patients that have condition Z. So my proof source has to support this theory, right? That the people who use product X for condition Z get better, right? And now I'm going to verbalize that for the customer, and I'm going to see if the customer buys into that evidence, right? If they do buy into the evidence, then that's going to make the close easier. If they don't buy into the evidence, then I need to know what their objections are, right? In addition, I'm also introducing a concept here called the key opinion leader strategy. What I like to say is, hey, you know, doc, don't take my word for it that you should use, you know, product X for condition Z. This is what Bob Evans says, and Bob Evans is a key opinion leader nationally throughout for this product. And if this doctor knows Bob Evans personally, all the better, right? Because now we're providing validation from a proof source and someone that they know. Let's take this a little bit forward, a little bit more here with some additional.
Okay, in the interest of time, let me just, I'll send you the link, which you can watch the full video. But as you can see from just now the presentations by the medical rep, even though he is not a medical professional, is not trained in healthcare with a marketing background, but then he have done with his own effort, then he can be very well versed and knowledgeable on the product, and then he can really impress upon those doctors to start taking notes of the product he's promoting. Okay. Let me just quickly finish the part on the detailing before we go into a short break. Now, so there are some studies done on the examining or trying to evaluate how the doctors or physicians rate the medical reps informations. So these are the results. First of all, the question was, do you think the medical information given by the medical rep useful? So around 60% said somewhat useful. And then around 10 equal, some are said around 10% say very, and you can see that both the screen. So this is shows that the doctors, hang on, let me check. Is there anything wrong with the screen sharing? Okay, let me share again. Okay, so these are the first finding, looking at how the doctor's view is the information's useful. Can you see my slides on the physician's rating of accuracy? Anyone, did you see the title now, physician rating of accuracy?
No,
Nothing,
Mr.
nothing
Lam.
wrong.
Oh, something wrong. Hang on, yeah. One. Okay. I think now should be okay. Yeah. So if you look at the second questions, looking at the accuracy informations, quite similar to the previous one, looking at how useful is the information. So the 70% say that or somewhat accurate, and then and you have the on the extreme part, 10% saying is not, and then around 10% saying that it is very accurate. But even those only 10% say it is very accurate, or 10% say it's very useful. But the studies have shown, so previously I have done systematic meta-analysis, like a review, looking at the interactions of medical inducements, which is this detailings by the pharmaceutical representative and physicians. This is what we found out, that the influence on prescribing due to the industry representative or detailing, okay, it does have an impact on the prescribing, okay. And one of the informations that was identified was the higher cost or less rational prescribing is associated with how frequent the sales rep was used as their informations, sources or references of the prescriber, and then the perceived credibilities of the representative. Just like the video just now, the medical professionals, sometimes they're quite impressed that they're having these impressions that those speakers, which is the medical rep, they are with medical credentials. So most of the time it's not true, but we does have doctors or pharmacists that venture become a sales rep, and then they have a quite good prospect in terms of promotions, which can be lead them into roles such as directors of medical rep. Okay. So there is this table shows what kind of benefits or what kind of incentives given by the medical rep to the doctors. Samples up to 78% of the doctors saying that they receive samples. Okay, this one we're going to explain later what kind of samples. And they also up 83% receive different kind of gifts, as small as pens, or up to, for example, a free lunch or dinners or vouchers. Okay. Travel, this is for the doctors or to travels to attend a conference as participants or conference as presenters. Payment, this is somewhat controversial. It's an ethical issue also in terms of kickback. Okay, the kickback, like for example, if they prescribe certain amount in certain period of times, then they get incentive. Okay. Any other relationship which is not discussed, for example, their kids get some free gifts, or their, for example, their office personnel get some form of incentive as well. And this slide just to highlight some of the summary on representative marketings or detailing. Okay, so you can see the example from the Washington DC district. Okay, the investors spent a large amount of money, so the pharma industry, to provide detailing or send those medical rep to see doctors. Okay, and most prescriber have no issues to meet with the representative. Some hospital does have their different policies, like for example, they can only meet the sales representative after office hour and then not in their office. Okay, and as you can see from the video, the representative, they are highly skilled, they have a lot of trainings, like even they can get all those training videos from YouTube on their sales tactic, sales strategy, okay, what kind of language they should use, okay. And then the meeting with the representative does have an impact in terms of prescribings, okay, but the physicians are in the denial that they're saying that their prescribing are not influenced by the amount or frequency of detailing, okay. This is still more study can be done. Okay, a lot of qualitative survey have proved that the doctors are in fact influenced, or they feel comply or compelled to prescribe because of those free gift given. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break. We come back in 5 minutes time, which then we'll continue on the subsequent promotional tools. Okay. part of the seminar. So we have done the first one on the marketing definitions, marketing mix. Now we're looking at the promotional tools. So first we have discussed about detailing. Now we go into the drug samples, giving free drug samples to the patients. We're going to discuss why it is used and also what are the ethical issues involved. I think it doesn't allow me to do that. No worries. So I will just show. Also, I have shared the slides on the chat box. You can download directly from there. Hang on, yeah. Let me close this one. Did you see the full screen or did you see only partially the screen?
It's a two screen
Full screen, right? Yeah,
display.
yeah. Trying to do the, hang on, yeah. Close all windows. Just let me try again. Is it the same? Do you see the full screen? Do you see the full screen now?
Yes, the full screen.
Oh, okay, cool. Finally. Now let's go into the second promotional tools, drug samples, which again estimated more than 20 billion US alone for distributions of these drug samples. Unfortunately, this is also counted as part of the R&D cost. Okay, we somewhat skip the R&D expenditures. Okay, estimated around 10 to 20% of the patients does receive, including myself, my parents, also at certain points of their visit to their GPs, private GPs, private doctors. They have, for example, my mother have received drug samples for Januvia before for her treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Okay. What are the purpose of giving these drug samples? Okay. The obvious reason to influence the prescribing habits so that they have something as a gift to the patient also. And the patients will start on the medications. And a lot of time, we know that this is for chronic disease, then have to continuously taking those medications. And is a reason also for the sales rep to deliver those items to the doctor's office. So the reason for say, oh, doctors, can I drop by? I would like to give some free samples. So during the short encounters, then the medical rep then can do their usual sales tactic, sales talk, which somehow driven again those informations to influence the prescribing habit. Okay. So argument for samples is supporting informations for giving out samples to the doctors, okay, so that the doctors can hand over those free samples, medication samples to the patients to get them try those medications. So the argument was it is a free source of medications for the needy or patients that cannot afford those medications. But the pitfall here, the weakness here is not continuous supply. Okay, as sooner or later, then the patient have to buy their own medications. Okay, So as they also argue that it helped to reduce the cost. Obviously, the first few times is cheap. First few times is free. Okay, and the doctors can test the effectiveness or the safety profile, whether patients suffer from allergy or suffer from any adverse drug reactions before the patient really start on their long term. I mean, using it on prescription basis for long term use. Okay. And also to give confidence to the doctors on the effectiveness of the medication, so that once they know the response for the patients. Okay, obviously when we talk about the clinical trial talk about the efficacies at the selected populations, and now when we talk about effectiveness on the real use of the medication, the use of the medications, what the prescriber observed outside the clinical trial. And different arguments for supporting the use of sample includes, so those drugs are ready, product are ready, and then the doctors will give to the patients, and the patients can start using them. Okay. And then this one also to avoid, for example, if to include a new medication in the formulary, it is a time-consuming process to get approval in the drug committees. So it can expedite the process of getting the medication directly to the patients. And the doctors then can explain to the patients themselves on how to use those medications. For example, if it's inhalers or certain type of injections of insulin. Okay. And it helped to improve patient satisfaction overall, is because it's a free item which they can use, and they are happy because they are getting some latest medications, if there's especially see it on the advertising or TV advertising. Okay. This rewards relationship, also rewarding relationship, because the prescriber is giving a free product to the patients, and then the patients get it for they don't have to go to the pharmacy, queue up to get those free samples. So there is a argument to against or object the giving the free samples, because for those these following reasons. First one is the pharmacist didn't get to review those medication used, and there's no proper counseling done because the medication the samples is given directly to the patients, and the patient often they didn't declare it to the pharmacy. Okay? And because there's a new medication, this is like a trial and error on their part based on whatever information given by the medical representative. It can increase the chance of medication error. For example, a proper instruction of use not given, proper labeling was not done on the package. Okay. Suboptimal treatment choice may be made. I have experience before. So my friend is a glaucoma patient. So the first line normally is the latanoprost or the Zalatan, but because of there are free samples given to the prescriber, so the prescriber give, for example, other prostaglandin agonists for the treatment of glaucoma, like for example bimatoprost, and my friends that have quite a lot of issues with the other than latanoprost, because according to her, after using those bimatoprost, he has those eye redness, dryness, but when she eventually given the latanoprost, she doesn't suffer so much of the eye dryness. Okay. And as I mentioned, there is no proper documentation, like for example, how many days of medications is given to the patients. So there is no track. It's not listed also in the prescribing list. So we don't know that or whether patients is given polypharmacy or another type of antihypertensive drug on top of whatever antihypertensive drug given. For example, if the free sample is antihypertensive agent. Labeling was not done properly, so it can increase the medication errors. Okay. Storage also in terms of expiry date was not well monitored. If it's insulin item, does it have a proper fridge in the clinic to store those items? Okay. And also these are the other 4 arguments against the use of samples. Okay. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. Let's say, for example, 100 boxes of product A was given to the doctors. Instead of giving all those 100 boxes to the patients, the doctors will keep some of it and then use either for their own family members, or the office nurses might take a chance to use those products as well. So it doesn't really reach the eventual target audience, which is the patients. Okay, so it's raised these ethical issues whether the doctor prescribe it for their own use, take it for their own use, because it's not recorded, it's not documented. Okay, the medical rep will not really trace how many was given to the patients. And from the strategy of the healthcare, pharma companies only branded expensive items, those innovators product are given as a samples. So after that, when the patients is on their prescriptions, they either have to fork out themselves or buy fill the prescription in the community pharmacy. It add up to their medication treatment costs. Okay. And this issue also raised just now, inconsistent supply. For example, 1 free samples maybe for 10 days only. But what happened after 10 days? There is no continuity of the treatments. Okay, so it can cause the relapse of their disease. So interestingly, several studies done. This is quite an old study also, reported back in 2000 and 1997. For example, in the physician survey of the effect of samples available on prescribing, the physicians also agree that when they are given samples, they will start prescribing more of these medications, and somehow those samples were prescribed instead of the first line agent. Okay, like for example, they should be prescribed according to the guideline drug A, but then they were given the drug B, which is have the sample instead. Okay. And this is what I mentioned earlier, only half reach to the patient because half of it will be used by the clinicians, family members, or office staff. Okay. And estimated one clinic, they have at one times or particular times given the samples which cost up to 10,000 USD. Further reporting on the effect of the samples on the medication cost. Okay, as I mentioned, because after the free samples is not given, then have to continue those medications on their prescription basis, and so it increased up to almost 50% of the medication cost. Okay. And the overall prescription cost also increased to 38%. And according to that, okay, only 20% of the people giving the samples, around 80%, according to odd ratios, almost 80% of the patients given the sample have will continue with the brand. Okay, so it means that most likely they are not continuing the brands of the samples or the product given as a samples. Okay, highlights on the drug samples as a summaries. Okay, it is one of the major marketing tools where the representative can give as a reason to gain access to see doctors. Okay, the use of sample increase the cost for the patients and also the healthcare costs because if once they are on prescriptions, and then if it's subsidized by the institutions, okay, and it does influence on the prescribing quality of prescribing, which is the first line agent was not used. Okay, let's look at the third promotional tools, direct to consumers advertising. Okay, this is either through TV or radio advertisements to target the medications advertisement targeting consumer. And in the 1997, the FDA US, they relaxed the regulation. We are talking about the in US markets. So then soon after that, they don't have to really list all the side effects. Then they just give a website or toll-free number where the consumer can call them up to get further information. So this advertising strategy are effective because it touched the hotspot, emotional of the patient, and then the increase the urgency for the patients or to talk about those new medications with their prescriber, which will then increase the chance of the prescriber to prescribe those medication for them. Let's take 1 minute just to look at this advertisement on the Humira, which is the adalimumab, one of the monoclonal antibodies used for this arthritis, or can be used for this psoriatic treatment. Hang on, yeah.
I thought I was managing my moderate to severe Crohn's disease. Then I realized something was missing. Me. My symptoms were keeping me from being there. So I talked to my doctor and learned Humira is for people who still have symptoms of Crohn's disease after trying other medications. And the majority of people on Humira saw significant symptom relief, and many achieved remission in as little as 4 weeks.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible.
Yeah, so this gentleman,
My mental health was much better.
suffer from a Crohn's disease, one of the inflammatory bowel disease, and then according to the video, after using the adalimumab, so he is well controlled the symptoms, able to eat ice cream, have more quality times with the daughter. Okay, somewhat really touching for the patients with Crohn's disease. If they suffer from the disease, then they will use it as an excuse. Hi doc, I saw the TB advertisement. I would like to try So this gives a very good excuse as well for the prescriber to start those medications. Okay, let me try again. Hang on ya. If you have any question also, please feel free to unmute yourself. So there are different channels of or types of DTC, direct to consumer advertising. Includes print versions used on magazine, newspaper, television. We have just seen just now, or can through radio and internet. Okay, so they need to get approvals from the health authority before they can advertise, and there's a certain guidelines or core ethics that they have to follow. Okay. So this is one of the reported study in 2007.01 also, looking at the expenditures on how much AstraZeneca spends on the esomeprazole, almost on the yearly basis during that time, almost 200 million on the different type of advertising of Nexium to drive up the sales of esomeprazole. This time we discussed this esomeprazole also in one of our ethical issues for marketing strategies. Okay, this is much more higher compared with Coke. Coca-Cola spent only like half of the amount. So you can see from the quantum how much the drug company put in. Okay, so the health authorities or these organizations pharma positions on the DTC advertising. So they according to them, they give a statement saying that this advertisement serves to improve the public health, and also because it helped to encourage patients to seek treatments for if they suffer from those diseases, and it become lead questions for them to get more involved in the discussion with the prescriber, and it provides some further information on the product as well. Then they will start asking, oh, what's Humira, or what is this adalimumab? Okay, and it helped to reinforce the needs for compliance. Once they look at the advertisement or hear the radio advertisement, they know that they have to continue taking those medications. Okay, and this one also compare with detailing, the detailing that this guilt from the prescriber, like after receiving all these free gifts, free travels, then they want to reward the drug company, but this one it doesn't have those guilt if they are not prescribing. And this is what the public, from a public point of view on the direct to consumer advertising, they feel that this is more on the promotions rather than educating. So this is more with vested interest that this is for commercialized advertising. Okay, and this one will also increase the use of more pricey, as you know, the samples only more costly product given samples. Same thing also, those product most likely are innovators. Okay, during their patent period, they want to increase the sales further. Okay, and physicians, which supposed to serve as a gatekeeper which is serve as, for example, a filter to look at who will be eligible to use the product. They themselves also succumb to the marketing. They increase the chance for them. They also get those information. They feel that there is a need to prescribe those medication, which lead to inappropriate use. Okay, and if the doctor doesn't prescribe it, it will somewhat hurt the relationship. This is like, for example, I saw it in the advertisement. Why you're not prescribing this to me? And subsequently, they will see another doctors which is happy to prescribe to them. So a lot of times, then the doctor will agree and then give in to prescribe those medications with no regards on the treatment cost to the hospital. So there is a systematic review done on the studies conducted examining the effect of direct-to-consumer advertising. Okay, first one is they found out that the study found out that a patient who requests a drug are up to 16 times more likely, as according to the reason I said. The doctor don't want to hurt their relationship. The doctor want to keep their patients to them. Okay. And advertising after the advertisement was aired or was being aired in to the channel to the public, and there's the company see an increased sales or increased prescription volume. Okay, and somewhat this is a positive note. Because they see from the advertisement, they identify those symptoms, then they will discuss more of those, their own symptoms with the doctors and help to increase of the diagnosis of those disease and previously unidentified diseases. Okay. Then the concern about risk of treating minor condition. This, for example, if there is if the advertisements is on the running nose, cold and flu, using a newer generation of antihistamines, rather than self-medicating or using non-pharmacological treatments, then they will see doctors just to get those new prescribed antihistamine. Okay, but there is no data on their satisfactions or health outcomes, particularly on this DTCA. Okay, so as a summary about this direct-to-consumer advertising, it does have an positive effect on the sales volume. Okay, and this is a substantial return of investment or from the manufacturers. Like, for example, if the advertisement costs them around advertisement cost them, or let's say at 1 million, then they increase the sales, increase the sales volume up to more than those margin. Okay, and so there is actions, relevant policies to first to get the approvals, to get before the advertisement can be played or before can be used in the different advertising channels. Okay, so this is one example of the advertisement on naltrexone, which is used for the treatment of this heroin or morphine addictions. Okay, now you can see this one is somewhat conservative, so they just give the descriptions on what is this product is. Okay, so but you can see some of the more aggressive DTCA. If you just see it on the online, there are quite a number of drugs specifically targeting on the men's health and sexual health. Okay, so we will come to the conclusions on the different promotional tools used by the pharma company. These are the highlights of what we have discussed just now. Obviously, the missions of a pharma company to generate profit and increase the shareholders' value in terms of our stock markets. Like for example, as soon as the Pfizer's get the approvals for the COVID-19 vaccines, the share went up tremendously. Okay, and prior to that, also the CEO foresee that and then sell his own share to gain the large profit. Those methods discussed help the company to achieve their missions to increase sales. Okay, and even though they spend large amounts of money on those advertisements, they get much more returns also. So the return of investment is there. Okay. There is a lot of industry players, okay, to come up with different strategies to influence the the prescribing trend of the prescribers also. Also, the study have shown that marketing can lead to suboptimal prescribing, and current marketing practice are somewhat controversial, okay, depending on the policies. So fortunately, in our region, the direct-to-consumer marketing is not approved. Okay, I'm talking about the prescribed medications. Though non-prescribed OTC, yes, they can advertise. Okay, and it is the duty and the role of the physicians, clinicians, to avoid unnecessary prescribing, okay, based on the demand of patients. Okay, and before prescribing, obviously they must get it, all this information, evidence-based information, right? This is a role of pharmacists also, to prescribe unbiased, evidence-based resources or references to the doctors. That's why the systematic review, meta-analysis are useful in that sense, rather than based on one clinical trial, which somewhat can be biased. Okay, let's move on to the last part of our seminar today. We have almost 20 minutes left. We'd like to discuss about the online business models, which is very effective now. As we know, most of people have handphone, access to internet. Okay, they're constantly on the phone. So pharmaceutical marketing on the virtual mode also become even more important. Let's look at what is business to business and business to consumer or business to client. Okay, let's look at the definition first. The electronic commerce technology will affect most major businesses processes along the pharmaceutical value chain. We go through already what is the pharmaceutical value chain just now, right from the manufacturer to the patients, from the drug discovery, from the pharma company to the end user distributions, different distribution channels. Okay, directly linking healthcare providers with pharmaceutical manufacturer over the web. This is talking about business to business. If it's directly from pharmaceutical manufacturer to the customer itself, then the business to client. So in a way, increase the efficacy and the cost saving. Okay, promote this free market access. Okay, this one just to briefly go through different characteristic of business to business or business to client. Okay, the main difference here is the business to business is to the retailer only. Okay, with the business to clients means directly to the end user itself. Okay, so if you this one just to highlight, customer here referring to the who is the player or industry player here. We have for example, the supplier, vertical markets. Vertical markets here means to the purchaser in that particular industry, compared to the horizontal markets. Horizontal market, in order to reach, horizontal market talking about different buyer, okay, in order they have to have the different buyer at the different time period to for that particular products. Okay, so also who will be the customers or the client for the distributors? Okay, so supplier, they can either through a vertical market, I'll give you an example later, and the wholesaler, distributors, and for the distributors, they are selling to the pharmacy. This one you can refer back to the value chain. We have gone through just now, the value chain slides. So this is so-called the example of the vertical markets. If you have on this line again at the different wholesaler, at the different market segment or different product, then we are talking about horizontal markets. Okay, this is just to show you the traditional distributions models, or we call it brick models. You have the physicals, brick, there's like the butter, where you have the built physical premises, right from the manufacturers to the distributor, wholesaler, retailer, and then also involve advertisers to the end consumers, end users. Okay. On the other hand, we also have the online model or network marketings, which also called click models, which directly from the manufacturer, then they can sell directly to the consumer. This is so-called the B2C. Okay. How, in terms of the different players just now, how they can attract their customer, this is also very important, because ultimately they need to, their aim is to sell the product before those items expire, isn't it? Okay. So for the manufacturer, they have a promotional campaign, like for example, a specific month, then they were talking about, okay, now this is November, now they were trying to promote the men's health product, okay? And communities and companies programs, for example, they give a scholarship, sponsorship or scholarship to the schools, how to reach out more to the end users. Okay, charities, they're having a different donation, then they will advertise it. So this is not like direct to consumers advertisement. This is talking about their outreach program, what kind of corporate social responsibility they have done. Okay, traditional media here, looking at the printed, like for example, how they reach out to the healthcare professional in terms of promotion, professionals, advertising. Okay, vertical markets, looking at just now different purchaser in the market segment or different products. Okay, obviously this one, they need to get the media attentions. This is, for example, advertising that you see just now. Okay, from distributors, if they can increase the members networks, then they can open up more distributor channels. Okay, this following slide just to highlight those importance. If you have this further value added services and incentive which differentiate you or this particular supplier from other supplier. These are some of the examples. I will not go through all, but this is just to give you some example, some brief overview. For example, the supplier manufacturers, they can help to remind for example, hospital, or you haven't placed an order for this month, so to remind them to replenish their stock, okay? And to provide immediate product introductions, for example, new products being launched in the market, then they will quickly bring it to the market, okay? They will be able to provide also a lower cost brand, like let's say they have 3 brands for the same product, different generics. Then they're also able to provide which is the lowest price. They also can give bundle services, for example, additional provide vendor management inventory. Some companies, some manufacturer, you have to log into their system, then they will tell you how much stock you have for your pharmacy or for your hospitals. Vertical market, this one, they have different strategies. For example, they use different ordering system that can help to speed up the delivery of item. Like now, mostly is online procurement system. You key in your orders, then they receive it on their end, and then they'll quickly send out those items using a courier or their own logistic company. Okay, distributors, this is one of the channels of this wholesaler or distributors to bring in the product to the hospital or community pharmacy. Okay, like for example, they will have sufficient SKU, a different type of product, whatever the hospital requested for, then they were able to provide those items. Okay, so they also can provide, for example, bundling product, incentive. If you buy product A, then you get product B either for free or at a discounted price. Okay, so this is some of the recommendations in terms of the marketings, internet marketings. Okay, first of all, for example, the company are advised to develop long-term partnerships for internet brand presence. Like most of them, they already have their own websites. Okay, and then the website also is part of their direct to consumers advertisement, so they need to get approvals from the authorities. Okay. Okay, let's quickly move on to the next elements, discussing about ethical issues of marketing practices. Okay, we have almost 8 minutes left. So these are the ethical issues raised by the critics on how strategy used by pharma company to prolong their sales or to maintain their market leader positions. Okay. For example, they have additional product license indications. Like previously, for example, losartan used for the treatment of hypertension, then they add additional for the treatment of heart failure, or then for this difference if treatment of heart failure prevention for patients for renal disease. So these additional indications will help to further increase their prescribing. Okay, direct to consumer advertising, we have mentioned as well. Charging high price of medicines. This is a very good example. If you read the news, Daraprim in US, because there is only one generic available in the US market. So there's one company bought it, the sole distribution right, and from the cost of $13 per tablet, they increased to 750 USD, which equal to 5,000 times increase. So this is what was quite a few years back, and so it increased. I mean, it caused a lot of controversy, because this Daraprim is supposed to use for those HIV patients for the treatment of toxoplasmosis infections. Contesting patent, they want to trying to prolong their patent period. Okay, developing me too product, like for example, different biosimilars product. Or for example, you have first the atenolol, then you have metoprolol, bisoprolol, carbadool. Okay, instead they should go for this first in market new drugs, which is trying to outperform the current product in the market. Different administration devices also use, as you can see, different inhaler, new type inhaler, mist inhaler, dry powder inhaler was being introduced also to extend the patents once, because one they have the different dosage form, then they can somewhat capture the patent, the new patent. Okay. Introduction of isomer of active metabolite. This is, for example, you see just now the esomeprazole. It was from the previous which is the isomer and metabolite and isomer. This omeprazole, right? Because omeprazole need to be metabolized to become the active metabolite of esomeprazole. So, and then they specifically choose the S isomer. Other example, you have the citalopram, then you have the S-citalopram. So this one also that give new patent for the drug company to continue be the market leader for those products. Okay. Also, lately you see a lot of fixed dose combinations, adding drug A with drug B. You have now three combination also. In a way, it's a good thing to increase the compliance, but it's also increase the SKU in your pharmacy. You have much more stock to keep. Okay, and this is just too many of them now. These fixed dose combinations. Okay. Okay, I done with the today's seminar. So I would like to take 3 minutes just to go through briefly your assignments. I'll give as well. I haven't shared the previous one with Dr. Andy. I'll do it soon after today's seminars. So what I propose to do for this one, because when we talk about marketing, is also involve your communication skills. So we would like to introduce having an oral presentation. For the timing of the group, then we will discuss later. So what you need to do essentially put yourself in the 3-member or 4-member groups, or you can also do it individually if you prefer to do it individually. I will help to coordinate that later on among yourself. Those are taking the masters at the UNAM. Okay, so it will be a 20 minutes presentation describing, analyzing various aspects of the drug you have chosen. So you have 4 main aspects to discuss. Mainly talk about the intellectual properties, whether it's either patent or off patent, by which company, if it's what are the market exclusivities from the point of regulatory approvals, what kind of indication of that currently being used, but most importantly focusing on the what are the pricing strategy used in terms of is it consider they use a high price strategy, or is it in terms of different comparators, is it more affordable compared with the other brands? And then also discuss what kind of marketing strategy being used by the drug company. Essentially, you just have to answer those questions based on the product they have given. Okay, I keep the option open. I have prepared the rubric also for this assignment, which I'm going to share with you through Dr. Andy later. Yeah. So for acknowledgements, I'd like to credit some of the slides which I've taken from the other lecturers for today's presentations, and also thanks again for Dr. Andy for coordinating this. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Long, for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, audience, if you have any questions to Dr. Long, please just raise your questions directly or fill out in the chat box. think some of you may have questions about the topic today. Please, Agung. Please, Pak Agung.
Yeah, no worry. Any question also most welcome. If not, also comments, or if not, we can leave it to during the presentations. Yeah. Either way.
If questions,
not fully understood, huh?
So they're going also to attend another lecture
Yeah.
after this.
Can no worry, Dr. Andy, because I don't want to eat into their time also. We can end today's sessions, and then I'm going to meet them also in their presentations.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lam, for your time. And we'll meet you again another lecture on 6th of December. Thank you very much. And University. Dr. Alex, he is of